Ramasiva Stuttering Mind. Hello everyone and welcome to my latest video. Do you find that you actually forget to breathe? That you cannot control your breathing when you're anxious, when you're stressed, and when you're stuttering out of control like a woodpecker? Do you find that you actually forget to use any of the techniques that you've been practicing on your own every day for the past 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years? Because let's be honest, I was in the same boat. I was on a speech therapy program run by recovering stutterers, and I would speak really well, really confidently with other people who stuttered. But when it came to the matter of speaking to attractive ladies, or to my boss, or to some scary customer, all semblance of techniques, breathing would go out with the bathwater, and I would be struggling, stuttering, and all those things that we do. So let's be honest here. Trying to get out of stuttering is one of the hardest things that I've accomplished, and I'm so proud of how far I've come based on where I was. So you can see that I do not stutter at all, and this is very different to how I speak now to how it was 11 years ago. After my mom died, I received a number of phone calls and I was struggling saying the word hello. I even couldn't say my own name, Rama. So I'd been on this program. So they taught me chest breathing and they taught me letting go of the block technique. But in the pressurized moments, I just couldn't use anything. It's like when you're learning to drive, when you have a few lessons, you are getting confident as you're driving around in the car park. But then when you go out into the streets with real cars driving towards you, hopefully not hitting you, but driving on their side of the road, you start to panic, you start to second guess yourself, and hopefully you know how to drive. But you must realize that when you learn to drive, you had to develop qualities such as persistence, determination, and facing the fears. So what fears do you have when you are speaking in front of people that you want to impress, speaking in front of people who are attractive? The fears are within your subconscious mind. Perhaps that you do not want to stutter in front of them. Perhaps you don't want to appear less than them. Perhaps you don't want to take your time and speak using techniques because they may think you sound a bit odd. But let's be honest, guys. You stutter, I stuttered. It's what we do. It's our thing. It's our automatic way of speaking in front of people, in front of some people. Now, when I joined this program, very quickly it dawned on me that I could speak to any stutterer without any problem. I went to a workshop about a year or two after this program, and I could speak to anyone on that workshop. Those included speech language pathologists. It included other people who stuttered out of control like a woodpecker, and it included people who were also on this program. So there were a variety of people, but I could speak to every single one of them, and that frustrated me for many, many years. So going back to the question in hand, you are facing a situation in which you aren't able to regulate your breathing, you forget to use any techniques, you basically forget everything you've learned. And you're trying your best to get your words out, but you're hyperventilating, you're panicking, and you are struggling. Just trying to speak, you're trying to appear coherent, but you're definitely incoherent, and you're struggling. So what can you do? So before you enter those situations, you must have had previous experiences, and those experiences must have been negative. So hence your mind is already fearful of the upcoming speaking situations. That was certainly the case in my speaking behavior, because every speaking opportunity I had with an attractive girl, I would be nervous, I would be apprehensive. I would tell them that I was on a program for stutterers and I had a stutter, but I would try my best not to stutter. So I would, in essence, stutter like a mouse. Meaning that I would go into the speaking situations telling the people that I stutter, but secretly I didn't want to stutter. Secretly I was ashamed. Secretly I didn't want them to think that there's something wrong or something different or something weird about me using techniques. But if I had used techniques when I met such attractive ladies, then I would have definitely got a girlfriend much sooner, because girls, humans, can see someone who's confident. When I'm speaking to you right now, you can see that I'm confident. I'm very, very confident. I'm highly confident in the use my techniques. What am I doing? I'm speaking slowly. I'm smiling. I'm looking directly at the listener. I'm using techniques. I'm using powerful voice. So before you go into the speaking situations, you need to practice in your mind and practice in the reality. How do you practice in your mind? You use visualization. And how do you practice in reality? You practice with your friends who don't threaten you, your friends who don't laugh at you. You may have friends that laugh at you, so you just punch them in the face. But the other friends who don't laugh at you, you say thank you to them, and you practice more with them. You get used to using the techniques and become a master of it, just like I am. I can bring on my speech to this level at whatever point in the video. You can see that when I first started the video, I spoke as eloquently and confidently as I could without using any techniques. But now I'm using techniques because to show you that I'm a master. And if I'm a master, so can you. You can become a master as well. All it takes is practice. How do you think Novak Djokovic has won 20 Grand Slams? Do you think he just goes to the tennis court and just hits the balls and hopes for a win? No, he practices in his mind, and he practices 5-6 hours per day. He reads, and he does so many other things, which you can listen on my podcast with his former manager, Alan Koshuri. So to summarize, what you need to do when you forget that you're using techniques, when you forget to breathe properly, breathe in deeply into the belly, what you need to do is to practice in situations which have no impact on your feelings. So, for example, with your friends, with your parents, with your dog, with your cat, with your children, with your babies, with flowers, with pixies, with leprechauns, with whoever you want. You just practice so that it becomes second nature. And then you slowly test yourself. You don't jump into the deep water and speak like this with Emily Blunt. You practice with a lesser person, maybe lesser impactful person on your speech, maybe someone at the supermarket. So supermarkets are a great place. The ladies, the guys who are there, they're there for hours and hours, days and days, weeks and weeks, months and months, and years. And they're at the checkout waiting for someone to amuse them. So why don't you amuse them with your powerful eye contact, with your beautiful smile, and your powerful voice, stuttering like a lion. So if you find that your breathing is all over the place, you aren't able to use techniques, you start to become more and more conscious about the fact, and you practice just before you go into the supermarket. You practice on the door in. If you see a security guard, you say, good afternoon, how are you? And you just practice like that. So when you approach the cashier to pay for your groceries, you're already primed into the method of breathing and speaking. If you would like to find out more and join my program, please send me a message to hello@stutteringmind.com, or send a message on Instagram, Facebook. I now have a Discord server where you can practice speaking Spanish and English with people who don't stutter. Yes, I'm in the process of building a group on Discord with people who stutter and people who don't stutter. And you know what? You're going to have to ask them whether they stutter or not. Because when I found that I could speak to people who stuttered very, very well, in fact, remarkably well, and yet I couldn't speak in the very next second to someone who didn't stutter because I was afraid of their judgments. So I thought about that and thought I would create a group on Discord where you can join in and have some fun speaking and practice your techniques with real live human beings who may or may not stutter. So in the process, your confidence will go higher and higher to the point that you will not be ashamed of using techniques whenever your mind reminds you. Now, if your mind doesn't remind you, you can put something on your wrist to remind you to stutter like a lion. The more you practice, the easier it will be to use it in the real life situations when you meet Emily Blunt. Have a great day, and if you love the video, please click like, please give me a comment, and please share this video with your friends who really stutter really badly in the real world and who don't stutter with other people who stutter.